we'll move to question time, and I'll go to Senator Kovacic.
Prime Minister Senator Wong. Before the 2022 election, Prime Minister Albanese promised Australians cheaper mortgages. Instead, the reality facing Australians is that they are taking out bigger mortgages, making bigger repayments, and in many cases watching the value of their home fall, and some now even facing negative equity. The average mortgage has surged to $735,000, up $75,000 in just 1 year under the Albanese government. Minister, how has this government managed to leave Australians borrowing more than ever to buy a home, only to leave them at risk of negative equity?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Kovacic for her question. And I do recall the Prime Minister saying that. My recollection, I'll check if I'm wrong, was that was when we were announcing our Help to Buy shared equity scheme. And the specific purpose of that scheme, of that plan, is to save workers, enable workers to gain access to home ownership and to provide assistance through government so that more people can enter the market without having to deal with mortgage insurance. And, Senator, I'm sure you'd be very happy to know that some 40,000 Australians have been saved up to 40% of the cost on their own home as a consequence, as a result of that plan, of that program. So the Help to Buy shared equity scheme, as a result of that plan, which was announced in the 2022 election and delivered by a Labor government, 40,000 workers have saved up to 40% on the cost of their home. Now, we on this side think it is a good thing to have more Australians owning their own home, and I appreciate that those opposite have a different view. They think the status quo is just fine, and I would invite them, as I did yesterday, to talk to so many Australians about where the housing market was prior to this government and the extent to which young Australians, first home buyers, were locked out of the market. Now, we on this side do not think that was acceptable. We don't think that was acceptable. And so we have acted unashamedly, just as you have blocked us unashamedly. But we have prevailed and legislation has passed through this parliament which is ensuring that first home buyers get a fair crack, a level playing field, so they can get their foot into the housing market, which we think is a good thing for not only them and their families but for the country.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Kovacic, first supplementary.
Housing finance experts are warning that Labor's housing tax changes are discouraging investment at the very time Australia needs more rental housing. With Macquarie estimating new lending flows are tracking 20 to 30% below a year ago. Minister, why is Labor driving housing investors out of the market, reducing the supply of rental homes and making rents for Australians even higher?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Wong.
We want people to own their own home. That's what we want, and that's what we've acted on. That's what we've acted on. And you're correct in one aspect of your question, Senator Kovacic, is correct, and that is we have said that we don't think that investors deserve the same effective subsidy from taxpayers that previously existed, and we don't think that it is fair to have a young Australian family trying to get their first home competing and an investor who's trying to get their fifth rental property where it is the investor who is effectively subsidised by taxpayers. We do not think that is fair. We don't think it's good economics. Now, investors can still gain access to—
I'm sorry, Senator Wong. Senator Bragg, I've called you 3 times. Order. Order. Stop the banter across the chamber from both sides. Minister Wong, please continue.
Well, I found Senator Bragg amusing, and now I've lost my train of thought. Is this cutting plan? That's right. Make me laugh, and I've forgotten my train. I mean, the point is, we want more Australians to own their own home. We've acted accordingly.
Senator Kovacic, second supplementary.
Minister, I wonder how many of those 40,000 you referenced are now in negative equity. Why should Australians keep paying the price for the Prime Minister's failed housing policies, bigger mortgages, bigger repayments, higher rents, falling home values and fewer houses?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Wong.
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. And I used this, I referenced this yesterday, I think in response to Senator Bragg, but it might have been Senator McDonald, I can't recall. And I made the point that earlier last month the RBA Governor did respond to a question about negative equity, and she said, at the moment, practically no one is in negative equity. It is absolutely minuscule, and it has actually declined over the last year or so. Now, that's about three or 4 weeks ago. Now, I would say I know that those opposite, the right-wing parties, actually don't want to deal with the fundamental issue of how do you get more first-home buyers into the market, and they can no longer argue about the tax policy. So they're resorting to another scare campaign. And that has really demonstrated, or been demonstrated all week, that all they have is scare campaigns, fear campaigns, assertions which are not true or are grossly over-exaggerated.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Stewart.
Thank you, President. The Albanese Labor government has been delivering on a responsible budget that is focused on delivering real cost of living help.
Stewart, you didn't say who the question is.
Oh, sorry. My question is to the Minister Wong.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Please continue.
The Albanese Labor government has been delivering on a responsible budget that is focused on delivering real cost of living help for Australians, giving every taxpayer another tax cut and supporting another meaningful boost to wages. That's on top of expanding paid parental leave to a full 6 months, banning supermarket price gouging and making urgent care clinics a permanent part of Medicare. Could the minister outline the impact of that Labor's reforms will have, and why the measures this government has taken will be so important to millions of Australians?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Thanks to Senator Stewart, and I recognise her and her Labor colleagues' determination to deliver real change for the people who send them here to the Australian Parliament. And Senator Stewart mentions that the government did support a real increase in the minimum wage and a real increase in award wages. And yesterday, 3 million Australian workers got a pay rise. 3 million Australian workers got a pay rise. And I'll take the interjection from the Leader of the Opposition, because every time we talk about higher wages, it's really quite interesting. You know, the way the right-wing parties get so upset by the thought that Australian workers might actually get higher wages. But of course, not only was the award and minimum wage rise delivered, every single Australian taxpayer got a tax cut, and all 5 of the Albanese Labor government's tax cuts together mean, on average, about an extra $2,800 in the pockets of the average worker. You see, on this side, we want to see higher wages, lower taxes. We want Australians to earn more and keep more of what they earn. This is what real change looks like. That is why we've also banned supermarket price gouging with tough new rules that came into effect yesterday, big fines for breaches. That is why we have opened all 137 Medicare urgent care clinics that we committed to and have made them a permanent part of Australia's healthcare system. This means 4 out of 5 Australians now live within 20 minutes' drive of their local clinic. And yesterday, this government lifted paid parental leave to the full 26 weeks, giving new families and parents more peace of mind and the support they need to give their baby the best start in life. This is the real change that the Labor government, the Labor Party, is delivering for the Australian people.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Stewart, first supplementary.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Minister. As well as delivering immediate cost of living relief for millions of Australians, the Albanese Labor government has passed the first bill of its ambitious tax reform packages through the parliament. It will help more young Australians to realise the dream of home ownership while supporting investment into new builds. Can the minister explain how Labor is delivering real change for first home buyers and why it is so important to act now?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Wong.
Thank you. Well, Labor wants more Australians to own their own home. We want more Australians to be able to own their own home. And that's why we've already helped more than 260,000 Australians into a home of their own through the 5% home deposit scheme. That's why we're investing $47 billion into our Homes for Australia plan. And that's why we have delivered the first tranche of our ambitious tax reform agenda, which will support 75,000 more homeowners to get into the market, at the same time as encouraging investment into new housing supply. This is about levelling the playing field. And already I know many in this place have heard stories of young families finally finding success at auction. And the difference, of course, is this. The three right-wing parties have teamed up against first home buyers. We are working for first home buyers, delivering real change.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Stewart, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. As the minister has said, acting to deliver real change for Australians cannot wait. And it's good to hear how the Albanese Labor government is acting to deliver cost of living relief, strengthen Medicare and to give first home buyers a fair go. Could the minister further explain why the government continues to act on cost of living urgently, and if there is anything standing in the way?
Thank you, Senator Stewart. Minister Wong.
Thank you. Well, we know that Australians are facing real pressures. We know that the world is more uncertain, and we know that Australians want government and the parliament to deliver real change for them, and that is why those of us on this side are doing that. And I'm asked what is standing in the way, and I think we all know it is the three right-wing parties consistently. I mean, every time you come here for a tax cut, for support for working families, for increases to the minimum wage, for penalty rates protection, for protection against unfair dismissal, for different groups of workers, those opposite cannot abide it. They cannot abide it. Consistently trying to stand in the way of change. All they want is Australians to be angry. They have nothing positive to offer. And Senator Bragg, with whom I've been happy to talk so much this week, he said this: the Liberal Party should have done more to develop policies on tax, super, IR, small business, but we vacated the field.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Order. Senator Askew, your last set of questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Aged Care, Senator McAllister. Minister, yesterday in this chamber we heard of 91-year-old John Wilson, who spent his final months waiting for care this government had already assessed he needed. In 2024-25, 4,812 Australians died waiting for care they were approved to receive. How many older Australians died waiting for the care your government assessed them as needing in the past 12 months?
Thank you, Senator Askew. Minister McAllister.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Senator Askew. No one, Senator, wishes to see an older person die waiting for the care that they require, and our government understands that we need to make the investments that will make Australia's aged care system fit for the future. Australians are getting older, and that's a good thing. We are living longer and healthier lives than any generation before us. And that means we need to make additional investments and we need to make change. Now, when we came to government, the aged care system was not fit for the population that we had, let alone fit for the future, not even close. And the government that the Liberals oversaw cut $2.5 billion and failed to meet the growing need for aged care.
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Askew.
Just a matter of relevance. The question was pretty much directed very clearly at how many.
The minister is being relevant, Senator Askew. And Senator Colbeck, I'm going to ask you to withdraw that remark.
I withdraw.
Thank you. Order. Minister McAllister.
Thanks.
I have called the minister.
Thank you, President. So, $47 billion will be invested in aged care in the upcoming financial year, and that is the largest investment in this country's history. The government is continuing to back older Australians and the workers who care for them and the system that they rely upon. And the truth is that generational reform, and it is a significant reform that is underway, is not a single moment, it is a long-term project, and this government is getting on with it.
I've asked for silence.
We are compressing a decade's worth of reform that could have taken under place under the watch of those opposite. And I see Senator Colbeck interjecting, and I would observe that Senator Colbeck has more to say from his seat up the back there than he ever had when he was sitting over here as the minister.
Thank you, Minister. I do remind senators I did call those on my left to order. If you make an interjection, the minister is entitled to respond to it. Senator Askew, for supplementary.
Disappointing that we can't get the answer that we're actually after in regard to the number. Minister, I want to read to you the words of Julianne, a Daily Telegraph reader. 6 months after her mother died waiting for a home care package, My Aged Care rang to ask if she still needed it. Julianne said, and I quote, "When I told this person Mum had died, she actually sounded relieved." Minister, is that how this government manages its wait list, waiting for people to die?
Thank you, Senator Askew. Minister McAllister.
Senator, as I indicated in my answer to your first question, nobody in this chamber wants to see people pass away while waiting for care. What is necessary is the investment and the reform needed to deal with a generational change to the demand for aged care and the need that this government recognises to improve our system so that we can respond to it. And that is work that could have happened over the last decade but didn't.
Order.
Now, in the budget, we will invest an additional $3.7 billion to deliver more beds, more packages and better care for older Australians. It means 5,000 additional aged beds each year, principally for those of limited financial means. It means faster access to support at home places. It means personal care services, including showering, dressing and continence support, will be free alongside clinical care.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McAllister, Senator Askew, second supplementary.
Thank you. Another reader said her father had been waiting since October for a package your government assessed he needs. When Labor came to office, the wait was 30 to 90 days. It is now 12 months. In her father's words, and I quote, "By the time I get the help, I'll be bloody dead." Minister, what do you say to him?
Thank you, Senator Askew. Minister McAllister.
Thank you, President. Australians do want freedom, support and choice to remain at home and in the community with the people that they love as they age. We know older Australians want that support. They want to return home and they want to stay at home for longer. And it is why we are making the reforms that we are making, reforms which were supported by those opposite, which were voted for by those opposite. Because at the time those opposite recognised that change was required and recognised that our government
Senator Ruston and Senator
was
Cash.
prepared to make the necessary investments to deliver it. Now, we are investing additional resources to bring forward the places that will support people to stay at home in the way that they need, and every single person assessed as urgent priority is being allocated their full funding within a month.
Thank you,
President.
Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Hodgins-May.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Minister Wong. Minister, can you confirm that no Labor MPs accepted free tickets or hospitality from gambling corporations or their lobby groups to attend the Midwinter Ball, held the night before Labor introduced its half-assed gambling legislation to the Parliament?
Thank you, Senator Hodgins-May. Minister Wong. Order. Order.
Thank you, Senator. Well, first, I didn't attend the ball, so I can't speak for...
One speech was good. One speech was good.
Order.
I know a number of people did from all sides of the parliament. In relation to the... Sorry. Not sure what the interjection is. So I'll try and stay focused. I apologise. In relation to disclosure, there are rules that senators and ministers have in relation to disclosing gifts and hospitality, and those will be complied with. But, Senator, we've had this conversation before. The approach we take on issues of energy policy, including the gas reservation, is because that is our view about what is the best public policy for Australia. But I don't understand why you want to stand up on that. It's about a public policy position.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Hodgins-May.
Point of order, President. I asked whether any Labor MPs have accepted free tickets or hospitality. With respect, those disclosures will not happen for months. The public deserve to know
Senator
now.
Hodgins-May, I have reminded order. I have reminded senators before, when you get up to call a point of order, it's not an opportunity to make a statement. The minister is being relevant to your question. Minister Wong, did you wish to continue?
Senator, I apologise. I thought you said resources. You said gambling. I apologise. It was a genuine mistake. But the same answer applies. I don't know who goes to the ball with whom. I'm sure people might want to talk about that. But in terms of the disclosure by anyone, whether it's the Greens political party, the opposition, One Nation, or the Labor Party, I think we all are bound by the same disclosure rules.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hodgins.
Confidently say that none of my
Senator
colleagues.
Hodgins-May, I haven't called you. Senator Hodgins-May.
I can confidently say that no Greens were sponsored by gambling corporations to attend the Midwinter Ball last night. Minister, can you confirm?
Order. Senator Hodgins-May, please resume your seat. Order. Order across the chamber. Order. 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 Senator Ayres. Oh, Senator Whish-Wilson, you're interjecting on one of your own senators. Perhaps you can turn around and apologise to her, because you didn't listen to me calling you order. Senator Hodgins-May has the right to have her question heard in silence. Senator Hodgins-May, please continue.
Minister, can you confirm that during the consultation on Labor's watered-down gambling legislation, no Labor MPs accepted any other gifts or hospitality from gambling companies or lobbyists, including corporate box invitations or free tickets to sporting events?
Thank you, Senator Hodgins-May. Minister Wong.
Senator, first I'll take your interjection from previously in relation to the Greens not accepting any hospitality from gambling companies. I would note that you may not have been sponsored for a ticket, but your party has been sponsored by a professional gambler. Yeah. So I think.
Order.
I think people can take with a grain of salt the assertions that you make. Again, I would say we all have disclosure arrangements. They apply to all of us. Particular disclosure requirements apply to ministers, and they are observed.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hodgins-May, second supplementary.
Minister, do you think it passes the pub test for Labor's Attorney-General to attend the Midwinter Ball at a table paid for by a television lobby alongside executives from companies she previously regulated as Communications Minister? Does that pass the pub test?
Thank you, Senator Hodgins-May. Minister Wong. Order.
Senator, generally the Midwinter Ball has been a time where we put aside partisan politics. That generally has been how it's been approached, but so be it if you wish to open that up. But I would ask you whether you think it passes the pub test for you to take so many hundreds of $1,000s from a professional gambler and then complain about gambling.
Thank you, Minister Wong. Senator O'Neill.
Thank you, President. And my question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. The conflict in the Middle East has resulted in extreme volatility in global fossil fuel markets and supply chains. In response, the Albanese Labor government has been focused on ensuring Australia's fuel, energy and fertiliser security. How has the Albanese Labor government acted to ensure that Australian households and businesses are shielded from this volatility?
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Minister Ayres.
Well, thank you, President, and thank you, Senator O'Neill. And if I can just point out on indulgence, I want to welcome to the Senate my nieces Abby and Sophie, who've come down from Brisbane to visit the Parliament and watch their uncle's excellent behaviour in this place.
Order.
Fast. This conflict in the Middle East has had very challenging impacts for Australians. It's been unwelcome for, of course, for those living in the region, but in particular for Australia's farmers, our freight companies, our logistics. It's pushing up prices for businesses and for households. And that's why we have been working so hard as a government to secure Australia's fuel and fertiliser. On Saturday, Minister Bowen once again confirmed that we have more fuel now than when the conflict began. That is a remarkable Australian achievement. I remember what the responses of the government and the three right-wing parties were in stark contrast when war struck in the Middle East. The three right-wing parties got to Instagram and tried to frighten Australians. The Albanese government got to work. We got to work. And as a consequence, in terms of fuel, 44 days, over 1.8 billion litres now in the country. Diesel, 3.4 billion litres. Jet fuel, 814 million litres. This month we have had the highest levels of fuel seen since the minimum stockholding obligations came into place. We get to work for Australians. The right-wing parties fight amongst themselves.
Thank you, Minister. Senator O'Neill, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. To build economic and energy resilience, the Albanese Labor government has been focused on building a modern renewable energy grid that puts downwards pressure on prices. What has been the impact on energy prices of delivering more renewable energy into the grid?
Thank you, Senator Ayres. O'Neill. Minister Ayres.
Thank you, President and Senator O'Neill. Well, it absolutely underscores the importance of the task that the government is engaged in, delivering on Australia's energy security requirements. In the electricity system, record renewables, replacing fossil fuels, particularly coal, making our grid cheaper, more reliable and cleaner to run. Since May, we have added over 22 gigawatts of renewables, wind and solar, to the grid. Almost 455,000 cheaper home batteries, 12 gigawatts of usable capacity, which is what is leading lower wholesale prices. Almost 100 times the energy storage capacity of South Australia's Hornsdale Big Battery, built over 8 years ago in this program. Now, every step along the way, whether it's on fuel, whether it's on electricity—
Thank you, Minister Ayres. The time for answering has expired. Senator O'Neill, second supplementary.
The Albanese Labor government's protecting Australia's energy interests because it's vital for our national resilience. What are the economic and social risks if Australia does not strengthen its energy sovereignty?
Minister Ayres.
Well, the biggest risk to our energy and industrial sovereignty are those opposite. That's the biggest risk. Who did more damage? Mr Taylor, when he was the Minister for Energy, did more damage to Australia's electricity system than any other minister in our history. 4 gigawatts, 4 of our 6 refineries closed. The only thing that didn't stop refineries 5 and 6 closing when Mr Taylor was running the show was time. He just didn't have enough time to close Refinery 5 and Refinery 6. Mr Hastie, in the other place, hasn't struck a blow on industrial policy since Mr Taylor was elected. Lots of posts angry about One Nation, not much work on industrial policy from Mr Hastie, all focused on their internal politics, not focused on delivering for blue-collar Australia.
Senator Canavan.
Thank you, Madam President. So my question is for the Minister for Finance, Senator Gallagher. Minister, Labor's Export Finance Agency has guaranteed $250 million for an Indian government-owned corporation to fund renewable projects in India. At Senate estimates, officials confirmed that there was no direct Australian company involvement in these projects. Why is Labor financing foreign government-owned renewable projects instead of Australian exports and jobs?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Gallagher.
Well, I think it's actually you. President, I believe that's probably a question better directed to Minister Farrell, who has ministerial responsibilities in this area.
Just a moment, Senator Canavan. Senator Canavan, you've heard the advice of the minister. Do you want the minister to continue answering, or do you want me to redirect the questions?
The Finance Minister is a shareholding minister, but I'm happy for the question to be transferred if
to redirect
she doesn't have the
Senator
knowledge.
Farrell.
$200 million.
Senator Wong.
Well, just on the point of order to assist Senator Canavan, the ministerial accountability is in accordance with where the portfolios, the legislation that ministers have responsibility for. The fact that a minister is a shareholder minister does not mean she is accountable for that program. The responsibility is with the portfolio minister. No, Senator. It's about the Westminster system. I just thought it might be of assistance to remind you.
Thank you, Minister Wong. Senator Canavan has indicated order to the chamber that the question be redirected to Minister Farrell. Minister Farrell.
President, and I thank Senator Canavan for his question. And I might just say at the outset how important the role of EFA, the Export Finance Authority, has been during the recent crisis that we've had in terms of fuel supplies. It was the quick action by the Albanese government to set up the EFA so that it could buy all of the petrol, the diesel, the airline fuel and the fertiliser that we needed to get through the most recent crisis. One of the reasons that EFA were able to act so quickly and, I might say, so successfully, we just heard from Senator Ayres about some of the volumes of fuel now being stored in Australia, was because of the good relations that this government has set up, or had set up, with our neighbours in our own region. And one of those countries, of course, was and is India. Of course, in a couple of weeks' time, we've got the Indian Prime Minister coming to visit Australia, and in fact, I think this might be the second time that he has visited this country in his during the time of this government. India represents a fantastic opportunity for us in terms of trade. The role of the EFA is to find and support successful business opportunities, not just for Australian companies, but for companies in our region.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Canavan for supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. Just simply not correct, Minister. The EFA's purpose is to support Australia's export trade. It's called Export Finance Australia, and help Australian businesses take on the world. How does financing an Indian government-owned corporation, it's an Indian government-owned corporation, how does helping them build renewable projects in India using no Australian products, no Australian know-how, supporting no Australian jobs, meet the purpose of Export Finance Australia?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thanks, Senator Canavan, for his first supplementary question. Not only did Senator Canavan get the responsible minister incorrect, he also misunderstands the role of Export Finance Australia, and in particular misunderstands the nature of this investment. This particular investment was through Well,
Order.
you've asked the question, Senator Canavan, and you could at least give me an opportunity to answer the question in silence. I mean, that's a minimum. It's a minimum you could do, I think. Yeah, it's a minimum you could do, Senator Canavan. You're xenophobic. You're xenophobic. Control your xenophobia. Control your xenophobia, Senator
Minister
Canavan.
Farrell. Minister Farrell, you need to withdraw that. You need to withdraw.
All right, I'll withdraw it.
Thank you.
Anyway, this particular investment was through Export Finance Australia's commercial account.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Canavan,
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I'm glad we've established the Labor Party.
Senator Canavan, I've only just called you and you're already talking over me.
Thank you.
Wait until you're called. Please put your question.
Well, thank you, Madam President. We've understood now the Labor Party views it as xenophobic to say that Australian taxpayer dollars should be used to support Australian jobs. Because, Minister, Australian energy prices have skyrocketed under your government. Why is your government investing in energy supplies in India, not fixing Australia's energy crisis, which is seeing our manufacturing jobs shipped overshore day after day?
Senator Canavan, before I call the minister, to create the most harmonious Senate I can, which is sometimes challenging, I did ask the minister to withdraw that, so it's not really appropriate for you to refer to it, but I'll call the minister to answer the question. Minister
thank you, President, and thank Senator Canavan for his second supplementary question. As I was saying, this particular investment is through Export Finance Australia's commercial account, meaning that there's no cost or exposure to Australian taxpayers. Export Finance Australia is a key strategic asset. It helps Australian businesses. Oh dear.
Order.
Give me some respect, please, Senator Canavan.
Order.
You've asked the question. You don't want the answer. I'm giving you the answer. It helps Australian businesses to trade and invest overseas and supports infrastructure development in our region where there is a direct benefit to Australia. It only invests in projects that have a direct benefit to Australia. These projects strengthen our partnership with emerging economies, grant Australian businesses access to new lucrative markets and create new research and development opportunities.
Expired. Senator Whittaker. Minister Ayres and Canavan, I have a senator on her feet. Senator Green. Senator Whittaker.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Trade and Tourism, Senator Farrell. On the 24th of March, the Prime Minister announced a landmark deal with the European Union. This deal, some 8 years in the making, is a milestone for Australia. The European Union is the world's second-largest economy, a market of 450 million consumers, and yet Australian exporters have faced prohibitive tariff barriers when trying to access it. What real change does this new market access to the EU deliver for farmers, producers, exporters and Australians?
Great question. Thank you, Senator Whittaker. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Whittaker for her first question. And she certainly understands the wonderful benefits that are going to come to her home state of Western Australia from this new free trade agreement. And Senator Canavan, you won't like this answer either, but the European Union is the European Union is the world's second-largest economy, and we estimate that in its first year this agreement will be worth $10 billion for Australia. But don't think of this as just one agreement, Senator Canavan. It's essentially 27 new agreements. It's doubling in one fell swoop the number of Australian free trade agreements. It's great news to the Australian businesses, opening up access to a market of 27 countries and 450 million new consumers. Just to give you one example, the seafood industry, which is so important to Western Australia, particularly all those wonderful crayfish, they'll see the removal of up to 26% on tariffs, making it easier for the $7 million worth of seafood exports to the EU to grow and thrive. Tariffs on Aussie dairy, rice, nuts, honey, olive oil, fruit and veg will all be either eliminated or significantly reduced. Our critical minerals, which is very, very important to Western Australia, Senator Whittaker, their tariffs will be cut to zero, and we will strengthen cooperation between Australia and EU on critical minerals, renewables and research. The Australian excellent wine industry, and you make some beautiful wines in Western Australia, almost as good as South Australia. And there's good news. No, Xanadu won the top award. I presented it to them a couple of weeks ago. Our world-class.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Whittaker, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. And I know as neighbours you understand my home state of Western Australia very well. Of course, it's home to world-class critical mineral deposits, a premium wine industry, better than South Australia's, and agricultural exporters who have long sought improved access to the European markets. And so what does this Australia-European Free Trade Agreement deliver specifically for Western Australian exporters, investors, producers and workers?
Thank you, Senator Whittaker. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Whittaker for her first supplementary question. And Western Australian wines are as good as South Australian wines. Just There we go. But the Australian-European Free Trade Agreement will create new opportunities for Western Australia to export its world-class goods to the EU, including minerals, wheat, barley, beef and sheep meat. It will grant WA exporters immediate access to the EU markets, with the vast majority of EU tariffs eliminated or duty-free access locked in. It delivers commercially meaningful outcomes for WA beef and sheep meat exporters and the elimination of tariffs on agriculture of exporters of wine, wheat, barley, vegetables and fresh fruit. The outcomes secure the Australia-EU FTA will help increase investment into Western Australia. Greater certainty for EU investors will add the attractiveness of Australia.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Whittaker, second supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. Another great state is, of course, Queensland, home to some of Australia's most significant export industries. Yet farmers and producers have long faced restrictive and frustrating trade barriers when attempting to access the European market. How will Queensland farmers and producers benefit from the free trade agreement between the European Union and Australia, and what places those benefits at risk?
Thank you, Senator Whittaker. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Whittaker for her second supplementary question. Queensland exporters will benefit from the elimination of tariffs on wheat, copper, seafood, vegetables and much more. But there's one key thing placing those benefits at risk, and at those who promise easy solutions. The argument for free trade and against protectionism was aptly put in 2013. To quote, "Those who argue for Fortress Australia are wrong. The pursuit of global opportunities in sectors where we can excel will strengthen us." And that apt reflection was in fact made by the Leader of the Opposition in his maiden speech. And I say it was easy to argue for barriers. It's easy to tap into the frustrations of a community by blaming the systems. But Australia is an island nation and we rely on imports just as much as we rely on exports. Each import is a lower cost at the checkout.
Thank you, Minister.
Each export is a farming or production job.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. In the early 2000s, electricity companies were allowed to charge a special solar meter fee to customers with home solar. Over time, it morphed into a daily connection fee. In 2025, the Australian Energy Regulator reduced electricity charges and energy companies responded, increasing the connection fee. In one case, up from 26 cents a day 10 years ago to $1.46 a day, $530 a year, 15 times the inflation rate. Minister, are the energy companies profiteering, or is your government trying to hide the real cost of electricity?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Ayres.
I was giving some thought to that as I got up, actually, Senator Watt, and if the idea that you would, as the Minister for Energy, conceal from Australians anticipated price rises in electricity that you had been provided, and that you would make all sorts of administrative arrangements to cover that up until after an election. I mean, that dubious honour only belongs to one bloke. One bloke. And I can tell you he's not a comedian. He's not a comedian, this fella, Mr Taylor, from the other place, who was the Minister for Energy under the Morrison government. I mean, he did share that honour with Mr Morrison for a period. I mean, you asked about concealing.
Minister Ayres. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, President. Point of relevance. I asked about the current government's policy, not someone else in the lower house.
Thank you, Senator Roberts. I'll draw the minister back to your question. Minister Ayres.
Well, if there's anything we can provide you in addition to that answer, in relation to the relationship between connection fees, I mean, these things are very clear. We have just provided, for example, starting yesterday, 3 free hours of solar power required to be produced for Australians, the 455,000 Australians who have solar panels on their roofs and have now got a home battery, who will pay zero in electricity costs because of the support of this government. These are not people in inner-city suburbs, I can tell you. Overwhelmingly in the outer suburbs and in the regions of Australia, benefiting from low or zero cost and delivering benefit.
Thank you, Minister. The time
to the
for
rest of the
answering
electricity
has
system.
expired. Senator Roberts, first supplementary.
Thank you. And electricity feed-in tariffs, the price energy companies pay people for rooftop solar electricity fed into the grid, have fallen. Retailers pay 5 cents to 15 cents a kilowatt hour on new contracts, while charging 25 cents to 45 cents for additional power, plus $530 a year just for connection. Minister, did you deceive Australians into installing rooftop solar to save money when the benefit is being ripped away in increased connection charges and reduced feed-in tariffs?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Ayres.
Well, Senator, I know that One Nation doesn't like solar electricity. I know. I mean, Australians have benefited from this. Many households, pensioners, working Australians on their homes benefiting from having solar. Many hundreds of thousands of households benefiting from batteries. Now, I know you don't like it. I know One Nation doesn't like it. I know you've led the National Party into not liking it. They don't like it anymore. And, of course, dragging the Liberal Party in this kind of far-right vortex into taking wilder and wilder positions that have got nothing to do with the experience of suburban and regional Australians who have benefited from solar on their roofs, benefited from batteries in their homes.
Thank you, Minister Ayres. The time for answering has expired. Senator Roberts, second supplement.
Thank you, President. Minister, why is your government deceiving everyday Australians, telling them electricity prices are falling when, owing to connection fees, electricity bills are actually rising, and quickly?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Ayres.
Well, I mean, it will be a source of disappointment. Every time Australia succeeds, it's a source of heartache and misery over there, isn't it? You know, I mean, you sort of feel sad when Australia does well. Oh, we are making progress. 22 gigawatts of new generation capacity in the grid. Default market offer shows that the Albanese government's work in this area after a decade of disinvestment and decay in the electricity system. Like, utterly irresponsible.
Order.
Utterly irresponsible what Mr Taylor did. He wrecked our fuel refineries. He wrecked our electricity system.
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Roberts.
Why are electricity bills rising? I didn't ask about someone in the lower house.
Thank you, Senator Roberts. I will draw the minister back to your question. Minister Ayres.
Wrecked our electricity system. Wrecked our fuel refineries. Didn't invest in transmission.
Minister
did more
Ayres,
to damage Australian
Minister
energy security
Ayres.
than anybody in our history.
Senator Ananda Raja.
My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Yesterday, the Albanese Labor government's next round of income tax cuts came into effect alongside a pay rise for millions of workers, cheaper fuel at the Bowser and paid parental leave, reaching a full 6 months for the first time. This support is arriving while global pressures continue to push up the cost of living. What support came into effect yesterday, and how will it make a difference for Australian workers and their families?
Thank you, Senator Ananda Raja. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Ananda Raja for the question, and it's an important question about how governments can work on and implement policies that assist households with cost of living pressures, as we have done consistently since coming to government. The 2nd of July, today, one day into the new financial year, a financial year that delivers an additional tax cut for every working Australian, and of course builds into our tax arrangements, the new instant tax deduction, the $1,000 off your tax income with no receipts, and of course the working Australian tax offset that will also be part of our tax law from now on, which allows us to provide a tax offset for those who are earning wage income through the tax system. In addition to that, well, when you look at those tax cuts in conjunction with the tax cut already delivered and those ones coming down over the next 12 months or so, it will mean that the average worker will save up to $2,800 a year. Now, that is a big help when we know families are balancing, pressures on household budgets. To be able to have that additional income coming into the house is really important. On top of that, we're undertaking a range of measures, like for new families, the extension of paid parental leave to a full 6 months, and with superannuation paid on that. The new minimum wage and award wage increases, which will again be very welcome in those households that rely on those wage adjustments to help them meet cost of living. 3 million workers benefiting there. And of course, all of our other investments into Medicare urgent care clinics, into our cheaper medicines, and the funding that we've provided in schools and hospitals to make sure that those basic services are properly funded.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Amanda Raja, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. The Albanese Labor government is also backing small businesses with billions in tax support so that they can invest and grow, and by providing practical help to make the most of new technologies. How is the government supporting small businesses to get ahead?
Thank you, Senator Ananda Raja. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and President, I thank Senator Ananda Raja for the question, as you're a very strong advocate for small businesses, both in her state but around the country. We have, in this budget, recognised with a significant investment package the importance of small business and the way that the tax system can work to support them to invest, manage cash flow and build capability. $3.5 billion in tax support measures. In addition to that, we have the $25 million in round 3 of the Digital Solutions program, which is helping small business adopt digital tools, grow online and stay secure. More than 15,500 small businesses have already benefited from this program, receiving over 33,000 hours of coaching and participating in more than 1,700 workshops. I know this is an issue that a lot of small businesses in Canberra raised with me about digital capability, and so this is a really important program that is helping small businesses.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Ananda Raja, second supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. What other support is on the way for households and small businesses, and why is the Albanese Labor government so determined to deliver it in full?
Thank you, Senator Nandaraja. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Nandaraja for the second supplementary, because delivering on cost of living support is our #1 priority, and it has been since we came to government. In conjunction with dealing with all of the other areas of dysfunction and neglect that we had inherited in energy policy, in aged care, in early education and care, in the environment, in our trade, in our international relationships, in fixing the budget. We have also, while undertaking that work, been implementing new measures into helping families with cost of living pressures. So the tax changes are a really important part of that, but so are our other investments, whether it be in energy bill relief, in our Medicare urgent care clinics, in tripling the bulk billing rate, in making sure that people could get access to more medicine, 60-day dispensing, cheaper medicines is all part of our plan to make sure we're doing whatever we can to help families with those cost of living pressures.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Dean Smith.
Mr. President, my question is to the Minister for Finance, Senator Gallagher. After 4 years of the Albanese government, Australians are paying 42% more for insurance, 38% more for electricity, 37% more for gas, 23% more for rent, 21% more for education and 17% more for food and health. On top of that, interest rates have increased 15 times under Labor, leaving Australians with a typical mortgage around $29,000 a year worse off. Minister, how can the Prime Minister claim his economic plan is working when Australian families are paying more for everything, paying tens of thousands of dollars more on their mortgage and are worse off today than they were 4 years ago?
Thank you, Senator Smith. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Smith for the question. This government, since the day we were elected, have inherited a whole range of challenges, which I just alluded to in my previous question, which we have been addressing methodically. And at the same time, we've been cleaning up the budget, getting rid of the rorts and waste, repairing the budget, delivering those 2 surpluses that those opposite promised and never delivered. And at the same time we're doing all of that, reducing debt, reducing interest on the debt, delivering those surpluses, reducing the deficits, fixing up all these areas of neglect that the Commonwealth had just walked away from, in housing, for example, in infrastructure, in aged care, in health. I think almost every area I think of, the Commonwealth had vacated the field. And what Australians see is their government dealing with all of these national and important challenges and, at the same time, keeping our eyes focused on them. And what they see when they look over there is 3 parties fighting each other like a Hunger Games episode. No one's quite sure who's going to come out in the final episode and be the overall person who remains alive. It's very unclear at this point, although we have some suspicion that it's at that end of the table at the moment, the way it's going. But what Australians know is they have a government that cares about addressing cost of living, fixing the budget, dealing with all of those national important challenges, tackling hard reform where it's the right thing to do, standing against those advocates for the status quo and delivering real change for all Australians. That's the approach we've taken in the last 4 years, and that's the approach we'll continue.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Dean Smith, first supplementary.
Before the election, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese promised Australians life would be cheaper under Labor. Minister, after 4 years of Labor, why have you made life more difficult for Australians?
Thank you, Senator Smith. Minister Gallagher.
Well, thank you, and I thank Senator Smith for the question. If you remember, in the election campaign, you were campaigning to raise taxes, have bigger deficits, higher debt, which would have all led to higher costs for the Australian people. Remember, you don't talk about it very often these days, but remember that great plan to build $600 billion worth of nuclear power stations around the country that were going to be funded off the budget. Remember that? They were going to be funded off the budget. There was going to be tax increases for everyone because you went to repeal the tax cuts that we'd passed. And so the Prime Minister was quite correct that that would have led to higher costs on households and on individuals under the plan that you were offering the Australian people. And the Australian people said no to that plan, Senator Smith. They had a look at it.
Order.
They knew what you were offering. They knew you would make cuts in order to deliver that, and they said no.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Smith, second supplementary. I'm sorry, Senator Smith. Senator Smith, second supplementary.
Australians are paying more for the basics, more to keep a roof over their head and more in tax because of bracket creep. Minister, isn't the truth that after 4 years of Labor, Australians are working harder but paying more and falling further behind?
Thank you, Senator Smith. Minister Gallagher.
Well, the answer to that is no. You voted against tax cuts. You voted against every single piece of cost of living health that we have brought to this chamber. You have voted against, and I think the Australian people recognise that they have a government that is going to make the right decisions to invest in them and support them with cost of living pressures. And they saw what you were offering and your party were offering, Senator Smith, and they watched the Hunger Games continue, and they know that the decision they took in 2025 was the right one.
Senator De Liga.
Thanks very much, President. And my question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watts. From July 1, a range of cost of living measures come into effect that will help Australians with the cost of living pressures that they're currently facing. A key part of the Albanese Labor government's plan to help workers earn more and keep more of what they earn is to make sure wages continue to rise. Minister, how has the government's support ensured Australian workers will earn more from the start of July?
Thank you, Senator De Liga. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator De Liga, who's got a very proud record of standing up for the working interests of people in Tasmania. Well, traditionally, July the 1st has been a time of celebration for the nation's accountants and tax agents. But this year, July 1 has been a time of solidarity with every Australian worker, because the Albanese Labor government is helping Australians earn more and keep more of what they earn. This week we've heard, and even the people in the gallery are very excited about that, this week we've heard about Labor's tax cuts for every worker, the cheaper healthcare and the expansion of paid parental leave. Beyond that, from the July the 1st, millions of minimum wage and award-reliant workers have received a real wage increase of at least 4.75%. For 2 years in a row, our government has strongly advocated to the Independent Fair Work Commission for an economically sustainable real wage rise for Australians' workers, especially those on the minimum and award wage. And what that real wage increase that's now been delivered means is that for a personal care worker in aged care, they'll get a pay rise of about an extra $59 per week, for a registered nurse in aged care an extra $86 a week, and an enrolled nurse an extra $67 a week. Since the Albanese Labor government came to office, we've advocated for Australian workers to get a pay rise at every single annual wage review, and that's 5 years in a row. And for 5 years in a row, those workers have got the pay rise that Labor has argued for. Now, in contrast, of course, the only pay rise we've seen the Liberal Party remotely interested in is the pay rise that goes to their party leader. Let's just think about the last fortnight in the Liberal Party. It started with anonymous Liberals briefing the media, saying that Mr Taylor's leadership is on borrowed time, and it ends with his rival, Mr Hastie, denying rumours that he's about to give politics all away. The Liberals end this autumn session in disagreement and disarray. Labor, on the other hand, remains exactly where we started, utterly focused on relieving the cost of living pressures of Australians.
Thank you, Minister Watt. Senator De Liga, first supplementary.
Thank you, President, and thanks, Minister. The decision of the Independent Fair Work Commission will ensure millions of minimum wage and award workers will receive a wage rise to help with the cost of living. Can the minister also detail how workers on enterprise agreements in the private sector are also seeing wage rises?
Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator De Liga. We know that enterprise agreements continue to be a key source of wages growth for Australian workers. Under the Coalition, enterprise bargaining had crashed, and that was, of course, part of its deliberate strategy of keeping wages low. Well, under Labor, enterprise bargaining is back. And if we look at the latest ABS wages data, we saw a solid 3.2% annual wages growth in the private sector, but newly approved enterprise agreements are delivering even higher average pay increases in the private sector at 4.1%. So the Labor Party is delivering for workers in every single part of the economy. And while we're focused on delivering real change for Australians, the Liberal Party are only interested in real change to themselves. It got so bad this week that we saw the return of Scotty from marketing in the form of Member for Lindsay calling for the Liberal Party to completely rebrand itself. No wonder all of this mob over there are counting down the clock, got the motors running in the car parks to escape the parliament and to escape each other. They hate each other and they're not focused on the Australian
Minister
people.
Watt. Senator De Liga, second supplementary.
Thank you, President, and thanks, Minister. The Albanese Labor government has been consistent in its position for years now that the wages of Australian workers should be rising to keep pace with global inflation. How important is it for governments to provide policy certainty when it comes to helping workers earn more?
Thank you, Senator De Liga. Minister Watt.
Well, the Albanese Labor government has consistently advocated for wage rises, and that certainty is good for workers and good for business. But what isn't certain is what version of the Liberal Party will turn up in 5 weeks' time when we come back. Now, after knifing Susan Lee when she was at 18%, the new leadership team of Mr Taylor and Senator Hume have dragged the Liberals' vote down to 17%.
Minister Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Collins.
Thank you, President. Point of order. This has absolutely no relevance to the question.
Senator Collins, the minister is being relevant to the question. Minister Watt.
Yeah, it's good to see that Mr Taylor's still got one supporter in the Liberal Party. Now, I'm sure that problem will all be fixed once the Member for Lindsay's Liberal rebrand is finished. But what brand will the Liberals come back from the winter recess with? Will they stick with Brand Taylor, with his new Dryzerbone and a Kubra fresh out of the packet, his best Yellowstone impersonation but without the soundtrack? Or will it be Brand Abbott, who's running around Europe with his far-right conspirators looking for new ways that the Liberal Party can chase after One Nation? Or will it be Brand Hasty, who veers between giving it all away and wielding his sword and refusing to bend a knee? It doesn't really matter which way the Liberal Party rebrands itself, because everyone knows the Liberal Party is not supporting working Australians.
Thank you, Minister Watt. And I do remind you, when referring to people in the other place, to use their correct titles. Minister Wong.
Before I close question time, which I'm sure everybody is very keen to happen, I just wanted to take the opportunity to farewell Senator Askew. It's your last question time, and to compliment her on a very fine contribution yesterday as her final speech. And we wish you well with your family, and on that basis I ask that further questions be placed on notice.